I went from Mississauga to Ottawa and back on one tank of fuel with that 2026 Hyundai Palisade Hybrid. It's an important vehicle for them because it's their flagship vehicle. It's an all-new generation for 2026, and it's the first time the Palisade's received a hybrid offering, and it's an all-new hybrid system from Hyundai. So if you recall, a few weeks ago, there was a pretty deep dive into the all-new Palisade overall with interior, exterior, features, benefits, and all that kind of stuff. That's not what this is about. This is going to be more of a comparison between the hybrid trim and the gasoline trim. We'll talk fuel consumption and potential distance driven. We'll talk pricing, and most importantly, what the drive feel is like. One's got a 3.5 liter naturally aspirated V6. This has a 2.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. So with that, let's get out of the not quite cold, but the coolish early November weather and see what's up with the all new 2026 Hyundai Palisade Hybrid. Let's get started with our baseline numbers. So in the hybrid, we run off a 2.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, 329 horsepower, 339 pound-feet of torque, 6-speed automatic transmission, and you can tow up to 4,000 pounds here. Every Hyundai Palisade for 2026 does come standard with all-wheel drive. Now here, there's a 69 liter fuel tank compared to the gasoline trim, which has a 72 liter fuel tank. And the power specs on the gasoline side, it's a 3.5 liter V6, 287 horsepower, 260 pound-feet of torque, and that runs through an 8-speed automatic, so 2 more gears than what we have here on the hybrid, and you can tow up to 5,000 pounds. Let's go into the driving side of things, because that's the big differentiator here between the hybrid and the gas trim. Now, this is an all-new hybrid system for Hyundai, and it's the first time this flagship vehicle has come with a hybrid powertrain. So I did the Mississauga, Ottawa, and back on one tank of fuel. Not sure if you saw it on social media. It kind of blew up a little bit. I just posted it up for me so I'd have some kind of a record to come back to, but through a 4-part series over, I think, 12-ish hours, I did it because I wanted to see how much juice I could squeeze out of this, because it was rated for almost 860 kilometers. So I'm like, nice long drive to Ottawa and back will give me some great driving impressions, and it really did. I will say it's extremely smooth off the line and extremely smooth power delivery when you are going for that overtaking or passing, or you just need an extra little bit of oomph when you're driving. And again, the smoothness here, this is luxury territory, and I don't think Hyundai's creeping into it. I think they're actually pretty much here, and well done to them. And another big thing that stood out to me as I was doing my Mississauga to Ottawa and back drive, it's the seamless flip between the gas engine and the hybrid system, and it was so quiet. I didn't feel any rumblings or any sudden shocks as most other hybrids have, albeit in the mainstream world as opposed to the luxury world. But Hyundai's really nailed it with this new system, and the only way I could tell that I was using the hybrid system on the highway, or actually on city streets for that matter, was that the RPMs went out to 0 instead of actually being active and being moving, and that correlates with the gasoline engine. So however their engineers have put this together, it is an extremely advanced system, and if you just want a nice, smooth, quiet, serene, peaceful drive, the Palisade does an excellent job, like A++. For Hyundai's largest vehicle, it is surprisingly quick. And again, not just off the line, but again, when you're in motion as well. And yes, I know that there is more horsepower, there's more torque here compared to the gasoline trim. Now, the gasoline version did extremely well. I did a little over 2,000 kilometers with that. I'm kind of like an unofficial Palisade expert, I guess. Yes, you stomp down with your right foot and everything just kind of comes together and you have your quick passing moment or whatever it is. But the point I'm stressing here is that it's their largest vehicle, and if it can be moved this quickly and have such a great reaction time from throttle inputs to execution, then I think Hyundai is doing something extremely well and extremely right. The gasoline trim's 8-speed transmission went up and down those gears without any issues at all. And the same thing here with the 6-speed, and just up, down, whatever it is you need. Doesn't hang on to gears too long. There's very, very mild turbo lag, and it's not really a shot against the Palisade hybrid, it's just more of an observation, because any vehicle with a turbo slapped on will have that turbo lag. It's just how things go. One thing I did notice on my longer road trip is that because there are 2 fewer gears here, when you are at 100 kilometers an hour, the resting point for the RPMs was around 2,000, whereas it was a little lower in the gasoline version because of those 2 extra gears. Another impressive point is that it's fairly quiet in here. Not a lot of road noise comes through, and there's a lot of smartly placed installation just to keep the cabin quiet and peaceful and serene here. So, and Hyundai's done a great job in kind of stepping on Genesis' toes. The toes of Genesis, let's go with that. Because Genesis being their luxury division, you know, you expect that from them, but to have all these luxury driving impression feels from a Hyundai that's clearly not a luxury vehicle, it's surprising, and it's actually a very pleasant surprise for that matter. For a vehicle of its size, it stays pretty flat around twists and turns at, you know, the speed limit speeds. Yes, there's going to be a little bit of body roll just given the length and height and overall size of the vehicle, but still pretty impressive, pretty respectable. I'm on one of the side streets now, and I'm using the hybrid mode, and my RPMs are at 0, so I'll give you a quick listen. And now I'm going to step down to the accelerator, and let's get that gasoline engine kicked in. So barely audible difference here. You know that it's happening again. The RPMs go up, but the bounce and balance between hybrid and gas, it's like the Palisade is just eager to get into that hybrid mode. Last touch on the driving side is that I'm in the Ultimate Calligraphy, which is their top trim, and it came with Highway Drive Assist 2, and what a delightful semi-autonomous system here. It made that long drive to Ottawa just actually enjoyable, and I didn't take the 401, I took Highway 7, which is the Trans-Canada Highway. I wouldn't have been able to make it because the distance is longer on the 401 than what the Palisade is rated for, but it's not fully hands-free, which I think is good, but it still does the adaptive cruise control. It takes turns, it's got the lane change assist as well, and the suite of safety technologies here, just like it is on the gasoline trim, it's great, and I'm happy that more manufacturers are starting to stack up on standard safety. More numbers, let's talk about the fuel consumption side and then on to price, and that should wrap us up. So the hybrid has a 69-liter fuel tank, and Natural Resources Canada rates it at a combined 8.1 liters per 100 kilometers. Dividing those by each other gives us a potential distance driven of 852 kilometers. So kind of keep that on one side. As a comparison with the gasoline trim that has a 72-liter fuel tank, fuel readings there are 11.9, so significantly higher by almost 4 liters per 100 kilometers. 605 potential kilometers driven. No, that's the wrong way of wording it. Up to 605 kilometers driven, distance driven. There we go. There it is. The key figure you should be concerned about here is that it's a 247 kilometer difference, which is pretty substantial. And that'll be even more impactful once we start touching on price. I do want to change lanes for a sec and talk about the Grand Highlander hybrid. So the regular Grand Highlander hybrid gets 7 liters per 100 kilometers, a smaller tank, and a potential distance driven of 928. So a little more than what we have here by about 75-ish. Now, if you want the Grand Highlander Hybrid Max, which has power figures similar to this one, where the regular Grand Highlander Hybrid has power figures in the 2s, Hybrid Max in the 3s, that's rated at 8.8. So total distance potentially driven is 738. So depending on how you frame it and which Grand Highlander you're looking at, that can be a competitor if you're looking at potential distance driven. Sorry, that made a lot of sense in my head, but kind of getting it out was a bit of a... Anyway, so that takes care of the fuel consumption. Again, 8.1 liters per 100 kilometers combined hybrid and 11.9 liters per 100 kilometers combined for the gasoline. Let's move on to the pricing side of things, and this will bring everything together. All the figures are Canadian MSRPs. So for the top trim Ultimate Calligraphy Hybrid, which is what I'm in right now, $65,699. Contrast that with the top trim Ultimate Calligraphy gasoline at $62,499, whereas you're paying $3,200 more for the hybrid. Let's go back to the fuel consumption side of things and talk dollars instead of liters and kilometers. Natural Resources Canada says on average, it'll cost $3,570 per year to operate the gasoline trim. That number goes down to $2,430 for the hybrid trim, a difference of $1,140. So let's keep that $1,140 over here, back to the $3,200 difference. You divide those by each other, and your quote-unquote break-even / payback period is only 2.8 years. So yes, you pay the $3,200 more upfront, but by the time you hit well, it's technically 2.8 years. We'll just call it 3 years for a nice even number. At that point, you've paid back or broken even for the premium that you paid for the hybrid being $3,200 with your average fuel consumption. Now, it's not an official figure because everybody drives differently with different habits and styles and different places to go. And that's just the baseline from Natural Resources Canada, which I use for all the videos. So it's good to be consistent. So all of that to say, when you're comparing the gasoline trim to the hybrid trim, I'm not using a cop-out answer of, oh, it depends on what you want, but the two big differences here that I think will weigh on the majority of potential consumers' minds are, do I want a V6 as opposed to a turbocharged 4-cylinder? And do I want, it's a weird question to ask, I'm just going to say it, just hear me out. Do I want to be saving all that fuel per year? Again, it depends on what your needs are and how you drive. If it's me doing a lot of driving myself, I'm going a hybrid all the way. I would probably make up that $3,200 difference in, I would say, 2 years, maybe a year and a half. It's still the same on the inside, and all the features and benefits and safety between the hybrid and the gasoline trim are all here. I just find more value for me specifically, and maybe you might find yourself in the same position that I am, where, again, you're doing a lot of driving and you'll find a lot of that value by picking up a hybrid. Then again, there's nothing wrong with the gasoline V6. Again, I've done over 2,000 kilometers in it for a long road trip from Mississauga to middle of Quebec as a province and back. So I'm very familiar with that, had no complaints, no issues on the driving side of things. But again, keep in mind, it's approximately 250 kilometers more you can travel on a full tank of fuel with the hybrid versus the gas. That's going to wrap it up for the comparison between the 2026 Hyundai Palisade gasoline and hybrid. If you have any questions on what you've seen, let me know in the comments. I'm always happy to hear from you. I'm always happy to engage in a respectful conversation online. Join the social media community. We are on all of the major platforms. And without you, there's no modern motoring. Let me know you pick in the comments. And lastly, I thank you. I appreciate you. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.